And the
Great.
floor is yours.
I'm glad to meet you at this workshop. Uh, my name is Alex. Admitted. Okay. My name is Alex. I'm from Washington, D.C. Now, but you may recognize my Eastern European accent. Yes, originally I'm from Russia and I left Russia because of war. Now I've settled in Washington, D.C. And because of yesterday event, I've renamed the title of my workshop as Make KPI Cards Great Again. I'm not sure that this joke is funny, but let's try. And a few words about me. I started 15 years ago as data analyst. Then I worked as team leader, project leader, and founded my own agency and provided data analytics services for manufacturing companies, trade, logistics, mostly on Microsoft stack. But also I work with Tableau, Click, so the most popular vendors. But my hands-on experience is mostly with Microsoft Power BI, SQL, and other Microsoft tools. And then about 10 years ago, I started to teach my clients how to build dashboards in self-service mode and started to write books, develop online courses, and teach people how to develop beautiful data visualization without specific technical skills. And also how to I teach technical people how to make their visuals beautiful without designer background. And my recent contribution to data community that I've organized data visualization award. Maybe you've heard about Information is Beautiful award, and now we have an alternative party, our award, which is focused mostly on not on data journalism but business data visualization and dashboards. And I have question to you. I'm interested, what's your favorite data visualization tool, or maybe describe your experience. Are you satisfied with your tool? To make sure that we what kind of background and correlation we have. Please share your experience. And honestly, I said that I'm Microsoft-minded person, table-minded person, but I'm trying to be vendor agnostic, and but I can't keep silent about my recent achievement, that my book Data Visualization with Power BI was released last month, and I spent 2 years of writing, rewriting again, and meeting all the Power BI updates. If you are familiar with Power BI, you know that for the last 2 years they had significant changes of their product interface, and it was terrible to update all the screenshots as the last time. But really, I'm proud of this book, and I tried to make it clear, provide best practices, but best practices precisely for this tool, and provide clear steps even for non-technical person how to make it clear, and how to prepare data correctly, and even develop quizzes to consolidate learning material. And this book consists of 3 parts. I have first like educating part on classic visuals, bar charts, pie charts, and even My next question: do you like any chart choosers? And my experience, the feedback that I collected from technical people, that they don't understand these sophisticated chart choosers which were developed by data designers, journalists, and I developed my own pretty simple chart chooser. I call it visualization compass, because for business data visualization we use usually four or five visuals. Oh, I see these messages. I want to learn Power BI and Tableau. And now I'm writing book for kids, and I created a magic character for each visualization type. This is bamboo for bar charts because it's rapidly growing. Also, dragon for line charts, and funny dog Paichi as a pie chart. So it's my new passion to write books, and I've already wrote this manuscript and sent to publisher, and I'm gonna write 3 books next year. And also I describe advanced visuals, but I don't even try to put it into a theme flow chart how to choose. I explain pros and cons, and I divided this part into trusted advanced visuals, which have a specific use case, like waterfall chart or funnel chart, and you may find them among default visuals, but I say that they are advanced. And also specific charts, more complicated, which you upload from app source gallery, like Tornado, Gantt, and other charts. I pay attention to KPI cards, and it's main topic of our workshop, but also explain use cases for more eye-catchy visuals. But third part is risk advanced. It may also contain such default visuals as scatter plot or decomposition tree, but they are not for business dashboards, and they may confuse average user. They may be helpful for advanced analysts for data exploration, but not for monitoring at a glance. And also I explain new AI-driven visuals like key influencers, Q&A, and others. And not even restrict you from using radars or core charts, but I suggest simple alternatives to make that your end user will understand it. So I will appreciate your reviews. So also I will put link into our chat meeting, link to my book, and of course I recommend you to read it, especially if you want to start learning Power BI. But if you are familiar with this tool, other my clients, students find this tool helpful to educate their colleagues, their partners, their customers, and use this book as a reference book to provide other options. For example, when your client or your boss asks you to build a pie chart of 30 categories. So that's my additional introduction promotion part for my new book, and now it has status of top new release, and I'm so happy that this book gets popular, and I really want to make it very useful and best-selling book. But today we have another topic. Our topic is KPI cards. So in general, my passion is dashboard design and development. as I said, my hands-on experience in Power BI, and I like to discover new features every month. And when I work with my clients, I pay attention to this header of each dashboard, which contains these total values, reference labels, indicators, some of them usually highlighted, and they explain our main results, that what we call cards or KPI cards. Sometimes they may be just numbers or more infographic style, but in general, so when we work with these executive dashboards and we expect to provide something like this brief overview, introductory page, and we may find similar references, Pinterest or someone's portfolio, and it's easy to draw this slide. But when we start working with any tool, Power BI, Tableau, Looker, Click, we usually fail. So I failed and developed similar dashboard. My colleagues or my students failed trying to display everything at once, because end user, especially stakeholder, business manager, he wants to see all the indicators because they are important. You need to see actual value compared to target previous year, the same period for previous quarter, and more and more. So we have such problem, and we might have a solution. And you might see in my references that these cards are not just a single value. We display this main value, target, last year, benchmark, and yes, it's not so hard to draw. But what's the problem for dashboard developer? It might look like a clear single element, but inside we have a lot of small elements for when we work with Power BI or Tableau, and we have to put them together, group and group, align, and usually working with business dashboards, we come through several iterations of edits, and this pixel perfect job takes hours and hours, and sometimes days and weeks, and it's a real nightmare for dashboard developer, especially when you don't have a designer in your team. And so I started my research 2 years ago to find the best solution among Microsoft Marketplace. If you know, they have extension library. They call it App Source Gallery, and each developer can publish his tool. But I didn't find it and developed my own visual, and I will show in my technical session. I will show you examples of default visuals. Let's go to our agenda. Yeah. So I told you about problems, and I think it will be helpful for you to see not only pictures but look inside specific tool. I understand that not all of you use Power BI, but now tools like ClickSense, Tableau, they work almost the same principles when we talk about data visualization, and all these problems are actual for Click and Tableau. And I will compare different cards and highlight best practices and special features, how they work, and provide some parallels with even Microsoft Excel and PowerPoint. So let's start. Let's start for a brief theory, and I will share my checklist for a perfect KPI card. And let's learn KPI card anatomy. So the first is a background. We need to highlight in or add borders, background, because we usually put several elements, titles, numbers on this canvas, let's say. The next, it's a title, and I recommend to put title on top. It might look obvious, but not all tools, especially Microsoft Power BI, meet this criteria, and let us put title on top. Next, main measure, in other words, key performance indicator that value that you want to stress. And then you add indicators. Usually it's not enough to put a single indicator. And for more objective picture, it's helpful to add two indicators, for example, versus target and versus previous year, or versus benchmark, corporate average values. And next element is microvisual. You might see spark lines or other types of charts, but actually we don't use them as a charts with all the data labels, axes. We just use shape. Next is conditional formatting. What's good, what's bad. We may use it as color and also add shapes, icons, arrows, or even emojis. And that's a sample of how microvisual may look as a progress bar, or let's say bullet chart. This is general structure of any KPI card. Yes, it may have single indicator or even single measure, or we may have no reason to put any microvisual. But if we talk about comprehensive KPI card, it will contain such elements. So let's go to the practice session and review default cards of Power BI. I will share my screen and let me introduce this sample file. So we have simple data model on digital sales. We have such values as sales target, sales actual, the same expenses budget and expenses actual, number of leads, orders by product, and date. Also we have some calculated measures as conversion rate, cost per click, cost per sales, ROI, sales month of month, and versus target, such typical business measures. We may see this data in the table. So our learning courses, presentations, HR analytics, dirty data, and others. And even I see this indicator sales versus target by month. And you can see this total value on top. It looks like a single element, but really it's made of several elements, you see. So if you know how to do it, it's not a problem for single element. But if you have 5, 6 such cards, it may look messy. And what we have, how works Power BI now, and how work Tableau the similar way. If I select any value, sales, actual, Power BI suggests me a visual for this purpose, and it suggests it correctly. It is a card for a single value. But let's compare to our best practice. We need to see title on top. Unfortunately, Power BI has no such option for title. So we have category label. We may turn it on or off, but we can't put it on top. The next, I want to add reference, so comparison value, as we see, versus target minus 25%. I select this value and what we see, why does, oh, it's funny, because after some settings Power BI don't suggest, let's make it again. I select this single value, then I select another value, sales target, and Power BI switched it to multi-row card, so another card, but it looks like a table grid. And again, I even can't change, convert to thousands or millions, so it looks like a raw draft. But Microsoft introduced new KPI card last year, but not people still don't know about this visual, and Microsoft suggests not this actual visual. So let's switch to new card. New card looks even better, and I'm happy to see the title on top. I see two values, but I want to not to look at them as two separate values. I want to look at as a reference label. It has such option if I know where to find it. Reference labels, I need to add data, sales versus target. I need to remove this target label. I may increase this font, title, value. I can set up it and make it look not so ugly. But by default, it's not so easy. It's a good step for Microsoft product, but it requires advanced skills. So what do we have among default cards? Three types of cards: simplest, multi-row for several cards, and new, which looks better, but all of them require additional efforts to add borders, background, adjust values, and then I continued my journey to add to find new visuals to get the same result, but just picking all these visuals. And let's try to do this. I select sales actual, sales target, and I will use multi-target KPI card, and what we can see, this visual. I already have my title on top, main value, and this reference label. The last thing that I need to make manually, I need to rename these fields, remove this prefixes, let's say versus target, and now it works better. And also I follow the rule of this titles level ratio. So the first level it's main value and it's the largest value. Let's go to this fonts. What is the best practice? Main measure 32 points. Then we have level 2 title and additional measure. Additional measure is value 18. We may increase it even to 20, the same as category font, but proportion is usually like 50 or 70%. Level 3 title of this additional measure, and by default it has 12. We may increase to 20, 14, depends on the available space. That's what we have by default, these proportions. How it works? We have built-in calculations. For example, I picked this actual sales target, but now I see this difference. I can change this value format for additional measures. So, for example, I may display measure 1 million or change over main measure, but I will display units, yeah, thousands, and here thousands. I may see difference in absolute values or percentage change or percentage change over main measure. And I recommend by default display these values, especially when we exceeded our goal for this product, +9. I display +9, but not 109. Let's compare. 109 and +9, and I save the space on this card. Let's add another value. I have value sales month of month. When I add, I will see this 0%, but when I select any month, I will see weird numbers like 700,000. That's why by default we display this difference, but month of month is already calculated value. That's why I display measure for sales month of month, and it grows 38%. That's how it works. And for indicators, we may have we may have 4 values, but usually we display change because if we display just target, we need to calculate this difference in our mind. But usually we are focused on percentage change, and I recommend to display this by default. Next popular feature for any KPI card is conditional formatting, and I'm sure you might have seen this famous Microsoft Excel feature as these shapes, smiles, stars, arrows, which highlight bad or good values or growth or any highlights. So my clients usually require for the same features for KPI, for dashboards in general, and especially for KPI cards. So how it works? By default, the easiest way is to highlight the font color. Power BI has such option for any element, even for background. And let's review some examples from App Source Gallery. I like this visual. It's called dynamic KPI card, and it looks pretty simple. Just border and two indicators, and it may change it border color, or we can add frame color, or you see gray, or let's switch to green if we meet our goal or compare to indicator or comparison value. I like this approach, but for many cards it may look messy. So by default, for conditional formatting, we have classic rule: red and green, good and bad. Of course, we should take into account accessibility, but in real business cases, my clients and clients of my students say that they get used to see red as bad and green as good. For goals, so if our goal is achieved, it's good, it's green. And sometimes we may have inverted logic when we talk about expenses. Usually, so if we have our spend, our budget, it's not good, definitely. Sometimes if we don't spend our budget, it might be also not green. And we may have yellow or other highlights. Or if we talk about client churn, staff turnover, also we have such bad metrics which growth is negative. Also, we love icons, as I said, Microsoft Excel, arrows, rounds, or even emoji. Let's look how it works in a specific tool and go back to our example, this sales actual. And we had, let's find this month where we had positive and negative. Yeah, in October we didn't achieve target, but we had growth to previous month, so that's good. Let's set it up. Conditional formatting for additional measures. And Power BI allows us to use its default feature for conditional formatting, and really it works like the same way as Microsoft Excel. But what I don't like that I need to set it up in a separate window. I prefer to see the result at the same time when I make all this work with all these parameters. That's why I added this parameter into the settings panel, and I enable this parameter for versus target. Then I go to value sales of month and also enable this parameter. So by default I have this standard logic, and I may see what's good, what's bad for specific month, specific product. Let's make it for expenses. I select expenses actual, expenses budget. Let's move it closer. Expenses budget. I enable conditional formatting, but plus 45 expenses, it's not good. And I may change the color, but also I can just switch to invert variance and it will display it as bad, or for another product as good if we have some savings. That's how conditional formatting works. The next feature, let's remove this and come back to our sales car. As icons, any shapes, let's go to this settings and we can add emojis. I've added some classic rules, like let's say green and red emoji. This will be green. That's what we see. That's for sales, and the same for target. But let's set it for target as a red and green ball. Also emoji green and red, but for sales month of months I will add arrows up and down. Let's look how it works. It might be, everything might be green or in red zone, but there's a new trend of micro visuals, not only features from Microsoft Excel, but emojis, especially for zoomers. And we may add emotional context and use not only such arrows, but we may use, for example, dislike, or sorry, it's for positive, like or dislike, or even for another value, let's add angry face or happy face with dollars in our eyes, or crying face. Let's look how it works. Not each tool provides such options. I mean, Tableau or ClickSense or Looker, but using some code, some plugins, you can achieve such result, or even combine it with multi-layer elements. And I will skip this technical session and show you some examples how these values may be displayed. And my recommendation to try this approach and engage your users, especially younger generation. Next, this is actually it wasn't micro visuals yet. It was emojis. In general, sometimes people say that all this is micro visuals, but what I mean as micro visuals, these additional shapes near the KPI cards. Usually it's such micro charts. You may hear this term spark line. So like just line. We don't see specific value or even axis values, but we can see trend or some seasonal changes. Sometimes some visual elements may have this built-in visuals. Sometimes we assemble these micro line charts or micro bar charts, just removing all the labels and leaving shape only, and achieve this visual highlighting effect. For spark lines, I recommend card with states by KPI. Let me show how it works in brief. So this is another visual from App Source Gallery, and usually to build this spark line, I need to add date axis or trend line axis, and I put this value, and now I have this micro line chart, and I have some options, for example, lower half or full space, or add area, show area, but I will make line lighter or get back and just lower half. And I like these options of highest point, lowest point. I don't have option to display labels, and that's correct because it's micro visual. I may highlight lowest or show all points, but I think it's unnecessary, and even change color. So a lot of useful options. When I developed my own visual, I decided to try something new and add bullet chart. Let's show how it works. And let's add a bullet chart here. When we use several indicators, we need to specify what will be target for our bullet. So the first, I enable this option, bullet chart, but you may see that there's no difference when I apply any filter, because I didn't specify what will be the target. I go to these parameters of my visual, and this field bullet target. I specify that it will be sales target. Now it looks as a progress bar because my goal is not achieved. I see this 15% gap. If I select other product, where I exceeded this goal, it looks really as a bullet chart because I met this finish line, this marker, and it moved 37% left. That's how works this bullet chart. Also, we have a lot of options to make it perfect. You may change colors, use, for example, shades and highlight this gap, or increase transparency, change bullet shape, use percentage height of this space, and especially we make all these changes using parameters only, so no moving pixel by pixel. I can specify all these proportions, round edges, border weight. If you want to customize everything, so you can do it, even target line, weight, height. But what I think important, so I finish this. We provide best practices with this card, and I have such option as templates. Let me show how it works in general. I will skip this. Where's my slide? Sorry, I lost my slide with templates. I will show it here. So templates, the first, I specify color theme. We have 3 default options. So, for example, winter, and theme type. Let's start from light. This is light winter option. I can change season to winter, to autumn, and we have such warm yellow colors. Or let's switch from light to smooth, or to bold. So bold looks like more corporate, or dark. Or let's look to forest, so dark forest, or dark or forest, smooth forest, light forest. And we provide these options, and then you may customize them. But what's important for even not for specific KPI card, but approach for BI and business data visualization tools, provide not only options to customize everything, but provide best practices. That's what I've done with this visual, and that how make look expenses or sales or expenses with negative highlight, or expenses as positive. So in a few words, what might be, I will just show an idea of small multiplies when we have set of same indicators or even categories, and I've make all the sentence for single element, and I can add the category for multiplication, for example, by product. By default, we have this grid for 5 columns, but I can adjust this grid and display two cards per row, and it will look better. But you can see that these titles, title and titles for additional measure are overlapping, and also we have solution for this problem. And let's go to this grid. For example, I can switch layout for additional measures from vertical to horizontal, and increase space. And again, we don't move anything clicking mouse, we work with parameters. And now we have enough space to display everything. And even I may put this main measure above main value, and provide more space for this, or change alignment, and for horizontal alignment for main measure name and value, or add some spacing. So in general, that's how it works, and I hope you will find this useful maybe not for Power, especially for Power BI, but for this approach working with specific tools. And let me remind this checklist for a perfect KPI card. So first, background, because by default not each tool has even background for KPI card. Title on top, main measure as the largest value, and so I will add this 1.5 ratio. So if our main measure is 30 points, then title should be 20, indicator should be 20. Here we don't have indicator title, but if we display this title, it should be 15. So 1.5 times less, so around 14. If we have smaller proportions, so it's important to keep these proportions and use microvisual, use conditional formatting even for font, and it's available for any tool. Not each tool allows us to use shapes, icons, or emojis. It may take advanced skills, but it's also best practice, and you will engage your users adding these indicators. So that's all for today. I remind you that I'll be happy if you will read my book and also leave reviews on Amazon. Now book has successfully launched, and I'll be happy if I really make my contribution to data community and deliver best practices precisely for Power BI. Not just description of all these settings, but really there are a lot of book on data visualization and even more about data with Power BI, but it's really the first book on data visualization which delivers best practices for Power BI. So if you are interested in this book, order it and make your reviews. That's all for today, and I'm ready to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Alex. It was interesting to see how much you can do with Power BI. And I tend to get bewildered by the number of options available. So I'll be reviewing this video later to go through more slowly and start to increase my skill set. And having a book to refer to would definitely help as well.
Yeah. So I'm not promoting Power BI, and all the options that I demonstrated are available in free Power BI version. So that's why I teach my student using this tool, because among other BI tools, it has all the options for free.
So I'm going to stop the recording now, and then we'll open the floor for questions.